E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna and Jim, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, we are so excited today. Of course, we're talking about women in leadership, but the guest that we have today is going to be amazing.
She really will be, because we've known her for some time, and she is just, she's exactly that, amazing. There's no other way to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the show. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com and our good friend, Mr. Bill Heinrich, who wrote the book, The 7 Levels of Truth. We want to give Bill a shout out today and say, thank you so much for being a friend. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us. And, you know, brother, we love you. We appreciate you. And no matter what anybody else says about you, brother, you all right in our book.
Oh, goodness. So, we have today with us Sophia Olivas, and she is not only amazing, but I would like to say what she's done in her life is absolutely unstoppable. I think that's a great word to describe Sophia. Wouldn't you, Jim?
I would agree with you, because I've seen over the years, and she's put a lot of things together, but the things she puts together are big things.
Right. We're talking
big things.
Huge.
Yeah. I mean, for us guys, you better pack a lunch and maybe an extra box of Wheaties to take with you if you're going to keep up with her,
Right. So, for our shout out today, Jim, since it's Friday, Women in Leadership, I want to put a shout out to every woman out there who is starting a new phase in their life, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that phase looks like for you, this is a shout out to you that you have it, you can do it. And you know what? Don't let anybody stop you from obtaining your dream.
That's exactly right. Embrace change, because change is good, and have the courage to step out and be different. And Donna and I were visiting right before the show. We were talking with a person, and he's interested in doing some things with us. And the very first words out of his mouth, he says, "I don't want to do what everybody else is doing." I said, "You're singing our song." we can only hum that tune. We can dance to it too.
Right.
But let's bring Sophia in. I'm going to push the button. I'm going to let you welcome her to the show.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Sophia Olivas, thank you so much for being here. We are so excited.
Thank you. And I am honored. And this topic is just one thing that I am super passionate about.
Well, we feel that when we did our research and we went into new fall programming, our research showed that more and more and more women are coming in corporate, let alone entrepreneurship. And so it's something that we feel still is under talked about, right?
I absolutely agree. And it's something that is greatly needed. There's so many statistics that show that companies that have a more diverse workforce, diverse upper level, like their C-suites, when they have more women, they're a lot more successful, and their profit, like there's so much data that just backs it up. They just have increased profits, satisfaction overall, because women, just by nature, we're more collaborative, right, in our nature. Whereas men tend to be, so sociologically, they just tend to be more competitive.
Right.
And when you blend the two of them, I mean, you're just fantastic, right? Like
whatever
you've
got a dynamite workforce.
Yeah.
And Jim, I just want to highlight you. I just like was hearing you introduce all your team. Smart man. Look at, he surrounds himself with all these incredible women. So
Oh yeah, I tell you, it's really they. You know what's amazing about these ladies. You know, it just blows my mind how compassionate they are, how forgiving they are. They like me, they love me, and all those things, and they forgive me. Can you believe that? Wow. I mean, you know, I tell you, no, it's really a blessing for all of us because each one of us brings something to the party, and that makes the perfect balance. And Donna and I, many times when we have a phone call, it's always a mini mastermind.
It's a quick
She's the
minute.
master and I'm the mini.
It's a quick
Okay.
minute. Hey, you got a quick minute? And we always know that those minutes are going to end up to be about an hour.
Yeah, we have problems between the word minute and hour. You know, they kind of run together.
oh.
And but no, really, it's really a wonderful balance because you've got the what I call the intellectual side and the gut feeling of the female, like in Donna. That's what she brings to the party. Me, I'm kind of like the dreamer. I'm kind of like, hey, let's go over here. And Donna, you know, has this invisible choke chain. Come back a little bit, about halfway. You know, reach that balance because really, that's what you need. I mean, because some guys, I mean, let's just be honest, guys. Think about the gold rush back in 1849, back in California. There was always more gold that came out of the ground, came out of a mine that ever came out of the ground. But yet, we're just like that dog chasing a car. Once we catch it, even if we did catch it, we can't drive it half the time, you know. But we love chasing it, you know.
Right. But, you know, Jim, we have the yin and the yang, right? We have
Yes,
a
we
great
do.
balance. And that's what we look for in growing our team.
It's necessary.
It is.
It's absolutely
and
necessary.
It has
Yeah.
to be all the way around. You know, it has to be a good fit everywhere.
And with
it
that,
won't work.
and with that is an open mind, consideration, and respect. And our entire team has that.
Absolutely.
It
And
really
lots of
does.
integrity.
We're just blessed with that, Donna. We
We
really
are.
are.
We've been really, really, really blessed.
Mhm.
So Miss Sophia, let's start at the beginning. Tell us about the origin of your story.
Well, sure. Well, we'll have to go back into my childhood. A lot of it shaped and developed me into who I am, as most of the time our childhoods or these inflection points that we have in our life. But I'll start off around 14, and I'll start off and tell you that that was when I made a choice to leave home and to be homeless and to be on the streets starving and struggling for just my basic human needs versus what I was experiencing at home. And I had the absolute profound privilege to have a lot of mentors swoop in and shape and develop me, even to this day. Jim, he receives calls from me just like that, Donna, periodically where I'm just like, I'm in a spot and I really could use some wisdom to bounce off of. So I do, it's incredibly valuable to have those in your life. And I flipped my first property shortly after I was legally able to. So after my 18th birthday, and I used that money to start my first company way back when in the early 90s, and got involved in technology way back when, doing a lot of web page development and things that had to do with the internet, and saw where that future was going, and then sold that like a few years later, and basically was able to kind of semi-retire and then travel the world. And I got to solo backpack over 35 countries. 35 countries, I should say. And I was going in and out of villages, and I was seeing something that I saw from my childhood. And that was that when women were experiencing poverty, like where they weren't financially secure, the cycle of violence was just rampant. And I saw that in my childhood, where my mother was beholden to a very abusive marriage because she grew up in a time and a place that didn't really condone or expect or even encourage women's education. So she had a 6th grade education. And in the beginning, like in the early parts of my childhood, my father didn't even let her work. So she couldn't even leave because she had no education and no means of generating income for her, for herself, and to remove her children, her young children with her. So I saw that as I went out into the world and was witnessing in these areas of poverty the same thing over and over again, where, the women's choices were very limited in comparison, and like in direct comparison to their level of financial security.
Wow.
So, yep. So that just became something that fueled me. And I that's why when you look on me up on the internet, I'm super passionate about women's financial sovereignty, about them being able to generate their own income, outside of their family, of their partners, like all of that, and to be able to generate, and what that does for the world. Like I really do believe that what it can do for the world.
So I love that, because I feel like the balance, and I'll just say this: when my husband and I decided to get married, we didn't get married because we had to, right? We got married because we wanted to, because we wanted to spend our life together as friends and partners, but there's no financial need on either side.
Yeah.
And that brings a balance and a harmony to a relationship that you don't have when that scale, like you said, is tipped the other way. And it's so important because, I don't feel beholding and he doesn't feel beholding. And unfortunately, I think when you're in a relationship where one works, one doesn't work, or like you said, in your mother's case, wasn't allowed to, you're trapped, right? And everything you have is because that other person let you have it, right? And so I think that having that balance, like you talk about, it gives us so much power that we step into our own. We step into our own energy and we own it.
Yeah.
Emerson Brantley, you may remember this story here, Donna. Emerson was on the TV show one day and he was talking about the micro lending.
Yes, this is amazing.
Oh, and he was talking about when that first started, they would loan women, not men, because they knew if they give a man $100, where it's what he's going to do with it. He's going to drink it up or go to the wrong place or whatever. But the ladies in third world countries were given $100. And if they paid it back, they get more, or they come back and get some more. And they would go out and they would buy things that they could actually put together and sell. And the rate of getting those loans paid back was over 97%. And the thing that the ladies really embraced was that here was someone they didn't even know that would give them $100. And these poor ladies are having to haul water in jugs. And no one believed in them or would help them. And think about how that made them feel. And we all need to feel good about ourselves when we accomplish things. And I think for me, what makes me feel the best in life is when I'm being a blessing to others.
Absolutely.
That's the secret to success. It really is. And that's how you can sleep good, and you just enjoy life. I mean, the things that makes you rich in, look at it like this. No thief can ever break in your house and steal it from you. It's so precious, money cannot buy it.
Well said.
Thank you. And when it comes to Sophia, I mean, you're probably wondering out there, folks, what fuels her passion? She is Miss High Energy. I mean, if they ever wanted to have her as the Energizer Bunny, she could be going 24/7, 7 days a week and not even break a sweat. But really, let me just ask you a question. What fuels your passion to work and see women get empowered and thrive? I mean, you've been there, and it's kind of like the old saying, when you become a leader, don't ever forget where you came from.
Yep.
Right.
And you have demonstrated that ever since I've known you. That's just
over
been
and
part of your
over and
DNA.
over again.
Oh, yeah.
It's right. It's
Mhm.
not even what I love about you, Sophia, is it's not even a thought that you
Mm-mm.
need to do that. That's just
Yeah.
how you are,
Just
right?
like breathing. You don't even think about it.
Exactly. It's like, okay, my eyes are awake in the morning. You just go right with it.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think and this is, and thank you for giving me this segue, because I think I would love to just kind of recapture the essence of Simon Sinek. He's got a great New York Times bestselling book, Start With Why. And it's like, I think the #2 TED Talk of all time. And it really is what your why, when you create what your why is, or discover, however you want to do it,
Mhm.
that your why gets you up, around, over, under any obstacle. And I'm really fueled by my why, and having seen what my mother went through, and
Mhm.
then what I myself willfully chose. I came from a middle class home. Like, my comforts were taken care of. Now, I was experiencing a lot of abuse in all 5 forms. However, I was comfortable. And I think that that's actually a really good, example of how people get trapped, men and women, but the comforts, right? You get
Mhm.
lured into that. And from the very beginning, I just making that choice did so many things, because I constantly am seeking out uncomfortableness, right? Because that's where the
Yeah.
growth is. And
Mhm.
that's where the biggest opportunities are, is lying in your uncomfortableness. But for me, I really have this extreme belief. And of course, when you have a belief, you can find evidence for it. I've found a lot of white papers from different universities and think tanks that have done research on it, with that when women are given money, and Jim just spoke about this, the whole community rises. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Yes.
right. The second thing is that it's proven that when women are financially solvent, they go further in their education, they have kids later in life, they have fewer kids, they choose a better domestic partner, and they take better care of their physical and mental health. Done deal.
Mm.
So right there, you've just eradicated poverty,
Mhm.
you have bolstered mental health, and you've reduced violence, just by
Mm.
ensuring that the women are financially sound.
Yeah.
So that gets me up every day. And the fact that
Mm.
I can do projects like my smart city, where I can create communities that provide all the basic needs for people, like food, water, shelter, and the one that sometimes gets left out, a financial pathway. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to
Right.
be able to generate income for yourself.
Mhm.
And that's your responsibility for every human being on here. It's your responsibility
Mm.
to make all that money that you can with your gifts, so that you can help
Yeah.
other people, because that's what it gives you. Money's options.
Mhm.
Right.
Money creates opportunities. And if not for yourself, then for all the people that you would love to help out as well.
Mm. That's amazing. I love the way you put that too, because a lot of people, when they go into business, they're just looking try to make money, and they don't understand that that is a reward of your efforts. And one thing that I share with people a lot of the times, that you cannot outgive the master giver. If you want more in life, give more,
Right.
because it just opens up the floodgates. And think about people. I've known people in my life, and I describe when it comes to sharing their financial wealth, they are tighter than bark on a tree,
Isn't that the truth?
and they live in poverty, regardless what they got, because
Oh,
they're
that's
afraid to
interesting.
spend a dime.
They're
I find that to
entrapped.
be quite the opposite.
Right.
So
Mm.
two things that I'm
They're
going to throw a
trapped.
challenge flag on Mr. Grant here is,
What's
one
that?
is, I believe you said that wealth is your rewards, right? I think you just said it was like your reward for
For
job well
your
done,
efforts.
or
Yeah,
right, for
you
your efforts.
your efforts. Yes.
I
Mhm.
actually will. I'm going to throw
Twist to it.
a little twist.
All right.
What if you were to look at your wealth as a measurement of the value and contribution you are to others?
Hmm. Well,
So,
I guess I do in a way, just without
yeah,
saying it,
so
but
it's
yeah.
not a reward for your efforts, but it actually is a measurement of how many people,
Hmm.
how much you're helping the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So if that's
I
the
love that.
case, you would want to be a trillionaire, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the game now. If you think about it
Mhm.
for that way,
Mhm.
some people are like, I don't need rewards, right? Okay, well, fantastic. For you,
Mhm.
then let's play a different game. Let's see and do it as a measurement of how many people
Mhm.
you can help in the world. And then for me, I have, my friends, I make sure that I upgrade as much as I can my, my network, right? My
Mhm.
circle. And
Sure.
I want to work with people that have accumulated and generated and won that conversation with wealth, because that is,
Mm.
like I mentioned, each of our individual responsibility is to generate and make sure our own wealth is taken
Oh
care of,
yeah.
because it's like the oxygen mask, right? If
Yeah.
you got to
Mhm.
put that on first. You got to handle your stuff to be able to help the world. So
Mhm.
handle your
Amen.
stuff and get it done so that you can get out there and help. And I find that people that have won that conversation and are tremendously wealthy
Mhm.
are the most generous people in the world.
Oh yeah.
They're
Oh yeah.
constantly looking for ways that they can now leverage
Mhm.
what they've learned and the resources that's afforded them to go
Mhm.
out there and empower others.
Mhm.
Leverage it up.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Because that's a powerful thing that a person can do because it just removes all limitations. It tears down blockades and things of this nature. Because when you're trying to do stuff just for yourself, you're going to be pushing a chain uphill. That's just bottom line.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
if you enjoy pushing a chain uphill, I feel sorry for you, because you're cheating yourself out of the true riches of life. You
Hmm.
really are.
Absolutely. Sophia, let me ask you, what do you see as women's strength as a whole?
Oh,
Mm.
that's so easy. I mean, there's a lot of things that we bring to the table, right? It's that yin yang, the polarity, the
Hmm.
Hmm.
feminine, all of that
Yeah.
stuff, right? But the thing that is going to be the most relevant in our topic, which is like women in leadership, is our collaboration skills. Like
Yep.
we are just masters, and just by our nature, we are seeking those, and you can go further with that.
Hmm.
In any type of endeavor, when you collaborate, you can move faster and go further,
Hmm.
Right.
in a much more rapid speed. And so I definitely believe that collaboration as a whole is one of our best strengths that we have.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
love
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I've known men in my life, and of course, this one gentleman of mine, good friend of mine, every time he went into a business meeting, he would bring his wife in. And he would just say, I didn't want to leave her out in the car as I invited her in, hope it's okay. But her job was, and they already had this set up. He says, I want you to read these guys like a book
Yeah.
because guys miss it.
Yeah.
But a lady sitting there observing these guys, they get a real good, true vibration deep down inside in their gut.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he says, he was the one that told me about the, what was it, I'll try to think of that rule here in a minute. It's kind of funny, but it's true about us men. The 50-50-90 rule, that's what it is. If a man has a 50-50 shot of going out and doing something correct the first time, and he doesn't listen to the wise counsel of a lady in his life, you can bet your last biscuit. There's going to be a 90% chance he's going to bolo it right out of the gate. That's just
Oh
the
my
way we're
gosh,
wired.
50-50-90. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 50-50-90 rule. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. That's very
If we
true.
look back in history, I mean, there's a phrase when I say this, I'm gonna see, watch you guys. But if you look back at where the source of what I'm about to say comes from, you can see over and over again just amazing examples of this. So behind every great man is an incredible or even greater woman,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Mm.
And there's something to that. When you look at political politicians in general,
Hmm.
they're almost always married
Hmm.
and with long marriages, most of them, because they got that right away, that rock you need, like you need that compass. and
Hmm.
and yeah, you're right. It's not that men miss it, it's that men are looking for something else, right? Because they're competitive, they're looking for other things
Hmm.
that when they go walk into a room, they're studying men from a whole different other perspective. So it's
Hmm.
not that they miss it, they're focused on something else.
Yeah.
Whereas women, we've got that diffused awareness, and we
Hmm.
we we allow and we listen. we trust, and we don't question what we're getting in our feelings, right? Because we're allowed to, from birth, in general, of course, I'm speaking, to be able to listen to what we're feeling and let
We're
that
a little
guide
more
us.
receptive to it.
Yeah.
It's all energy. It's all energy.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I like that Napoleon Hill said when he interviewed a lot of well-to-do men during his lifetime, he says, one of the most common denominators that these men had was that they had a good, strong mother that instilled principles, values, and ethics in them. And most of them talked about their mothers as well as, their wives and things like this. But the most common denominator, even with the single guys, was that they talked about their mother, keeping them on the straight and narrow. And moms do that. They have that, what's that old saying, the hand that rocks the cradle will rule the world, because, just something special about a mom to a guy. It really is. And that's a bond that's just, it's just there and never be broken,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Sophia, I know that you've mentioned in interviews that women are a source of humanity's challenges, but as well as their solutions. So let's dive into that and explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, that throws people off when I say women are at the source of all of humanity's challenges. But there's a great thing about that. And I'll tell you why we're the source, but I'll explain also why that's the tremendous opportunity, because we're also the flip side of the coin. We're also the solution. So if you're at the effect of something, you can't do anything about it, right? But here's a great thing. So women give birth, so they create the future. So they give birth to the kids. And the majority of the time, they're the ones that take care and raise the kids. So they shape the future back to the hand that rocks the cradle, right? Rules the world. So, I mean, we hear these phrases, but we don't think about the logic behind them and the wisdom behind it and where it comes from. So, yeah. So women have that's why I'm saying, and I had a great mentor that taught me a long time ago when I was a teenager, that if you're ever looking at a particular situation, a very sticky challenge, be it man-made or nature-made, he goes, to get the most leverage, identify the source and work at the source. So many times people are like working at the problem, and they're like, okay, well, let's get rid of the guns or keep the guns, more guns, no guns, like that's working over here, when you can just go back and identify the source, which is always going to be the women. It's always going to be the women, because they're the ones that create the future and shape the future. So that is the opportunity right there. So in essence, we can constantly look at the women for, okay, well, this is where the challenges are coming from. But then you flip the coin over, that's where the solutions are. You work with the women, you make sure they're good. So I'm going to bring up another phrase. This is a great, another thing that you've heard. Happy wife.
Happy life.
That's right. So when mama's happy, the whole family's good, right? It's the same thing. We're talking about women. When women are good, the world rights itself. Throw any challenge that you want to. I don't care if it's climate change. I don't care if it's poverty, food deserts, any of that. You focus on working at the women, and all of those things just right themselves.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I tell guys, you got to make sure you keep your house in order and your wife or girlfriend happy, because otherwise, brother, you're going to do some hard time in the hacienda, You may live, but you're not going to live real good, because that's it. But a woman has the ability to just make a house hum. And I think of it a lot of times, I never have said this before, but I think of it a lot of times being like the queen bee of a hive. When that hive is in order, it's just humming, and you can hear it, and it's just amazing. And that's the way we're supposed to live, in harmony. And it's just a wonderful thing, because if you can't go home and live in peace, where can you go? Everybody needs a refuge. Everybody needs a place to go to where they're loved and they're secure. And home is the places. And if it's not right, you need to make it right. You You really do. And I've got to ask her, Sophia, that ever smart city. I mean, I know just a teens about that story. I know about the passion, but would you be kind enough to share that with us, ever smart city, how that all came about? Because I see that beautiful. I love your emblem there, your symbol, and your icon there. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, Trish Ganakis, our wonderful, incredible, one of our wonderful graphic designers, she created that. So another beautiful woman. Yeah, she's incredibly talented. So yeah, Ever Smart City came about from combining my two passions, technology and real estate. So I told you that I flipped my first property and let that start my first tech company. So this is a project where I could bring it all together and also pull from my childhood, from being on the streets and having to struggle just to meet the human basic needs. And then as I backpack, seeing that the majority of the world, as Americans, even the poorest American, you're still part of the top 3% of the world. So when you go into these third world countries, they're spending their entire day just getting the basic needs for survival, like water, just trying to get some type of water that's drinkable, really clean. Women walking 7 to 15 miles a day just to get that taken care of. Not to mention getting firewood to cook on and what that does to the lungs. And I can go on and on and on about that. So Ever Smart City are communities that we're building where we in areas that are in dire need of affordable housing. And so we focus and we utilize shipping containers to provide that affordable housing. And we have vertical agriculture so we can feed over 1,000 residents, over 200 businesses in the surrounding communities. And then we integrate it with blockchain technology. So our first one that we're building is going to be in the Phoenix metro area. So we look towards breaking ground next year on that and having people move in 2024. And then we'll be going nationwide and be going globally. We're looking at being a part of the United Nations Smart City Arm Division. Their headquarters is being built in Scottsdale, which is right outside of Phoenix. And so we're looking at, once we get these situated, in going global with them in over 130 countries, walking in with them.
Wow, that's amazing. I knew you were going in that direction because we've known each other for several years, but I mean, I didn't know it was going to be that big, to be honest with you. And if you go to Eversmart City, eversmart.city there, like on the website on the marquee there, be sure and check it out. And I'll guarantee you, there's going to be some people say, hey, I want to get involved in something like that. And that's an extremely worthy cause when you can help others who are, that's what we're supposed to do, is help others in their hour of need. Because all of us need help in our hour of need, and we need that person who loves us and cares for us, even though they may not even know our name. We have a love for humanity because, as I've said many times, we're all brothers and sisters by different mothers. We really, truly are. And we need to look at one another like it with the same type of heart and compassion and respect. And, Donna, I tell people when I graduated in 1967, Aretha Franklin, her number one hit was Respect. And I'm convinced she knew how I was in English in school because she spelt it out for me, RESP.
Well, and I think, if I can just add this in here,
please.
I think it's so important, again, and we've talked about this, Jim, on the show before, but understand that this is about a collaboration. That there is enough out there in the world for everybody to have some. Right? And so being greedy and secretive and this is mine, and you know what, there's no place for that. There is no place for that. But you do need to find the right people that align with you to work with. And that's huge.
It really is. It's kind of like oxygen. There's oxygen enough for everybody. And,
right.
If you're going to hold on to it, you're just one heartbeat away from your brother-in-law taking and goofing it up. So why you beat yourself up for that? It's just amazing because I love what Sophia's doing there at that Ever Smart City.
Absolutely.
My goodness, that is
absolutely.
a tremendous.
And I did not know it was starting out here in Phoenix.
Yeah, we power it with renewable energy, and Arizona is the #1 solar production hours out of all the U.S.
Wow.
Continental U.S. states. Yeah,
Right.
so
We get a little sun here.
yeah, and
Mhm.
our team has already done 4 shipping container developments in downtown Phoenix. So we have precedents for zoning. It just makes it easier. But Jim, you hit it right on the dot. If you so and what our focus is, what basically what we really do is we provide basic human needs: food, water, shelter, and a financial growth path. Because there's some blockchain Web3 integration with that allows people to generate income. Plus there's businesses on the ground level. So you have storefronts and you would live right above in your single family homes. So there's a lot of things, and it is a major collaborative communities, these master developments, because they have collaborative workspaces, they have event centers, community centers, we have K through 12th grade education where we're doing experiential education. So we're raising leaders, future leaders. Think of like
Wow.
more like Montessori type of education. So there's a lot that goes into this, but in the end, the results are the stewardship of each other and of the planet. So we don't even need to
Wow.
lead with all of that stuff because it directly results in that. So I constantly look at where we're at with the planet and the tipping point where we're at in all kinds of areas, and wherever side of the fence you are with the climate change and all of that. But what I notice though is I see that a lot of people, it's equivalent of walking up to an oil executive and telling them, you're wrong, you did this, stop doing that. So as a CEO myself, we have a fiduciary duty to our board of directors and to our stockholders, right? And I would go to prison if I stopped doing what made the company money, because that would just be negligent on my part.
Yeah.
So you don't go up to an executive, a CEO of a company and tell them stop doing what makes you money and go to prison. What you do is you give them a much more lucrative way to generate even more profits and have it directly result in what you're trying to do. So you don't even have to talk to them about, okay, well, this will be better for the world if you do this. Well, no, I don't even need to talk to you about that, because if I just show you how to make more money. So I'm going to walk up to that same, oil executive and be like, hey, so you made a couple trillion this year. How would you like to triple it next year? I'm going to get that meeting all day long. And then I'm going to show them a better way of doing it, faster, more lucrative. And I'm just going to make sure that it directly results in the stewardship of each other and of the planet. And everybody wins.
Right.
So that's really what we go about doing. And in addition to that, like the women, I also focus on it. Everything that I do, at the core of everything I do, is how can I generate a space that empowers women and has them come in. I mean, I even have a YouTube channel, The Making of a Female CEO, where I bring and highlight and spotlight, female-run owned companies and female founders. And we talk about founder sagas, because I also think that women, especially now with social media, it's the Instagram ready CEO that we're looking at, and they talk about overnight success. Like, that is not reality. So that should
there is no overnight success.
I mean, yeah, like, okay, 45-year overnight success. Okay, well,
right.
Yeah. And so that show really focuses on presenting, like, what as women, what are we going through, like the challenges, because we have a little bit more different challenges than men, because there's some other complexities that go on, right? And it's changing, right? Because men are starting to learn the value of bringing more women and locking arms with women, and what that will do for their projects and their companies and their agendas.
Right. It's becoming less of a little less of the man's world, like yesteryear, right? Where women were good, but they couldn't be in the executive level because they were just women. Where now, women, we did a show about this, Jim, what was it? 2-3 weeks ago. And the facts that we had out there were amazing on what they bring. And I wish I had them here in my head. You remember the one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. It was a tremendous show. Really. It was eye-opening. I mean,
it was
really
like, wow. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know it was that high. And that is huge. That is huge.
It really is, because when it comes to ladies' contribution, women's contribution to this world. I mean, my goodness gracious. Any guy that thinks that, just because they're a woman, they can't do something. I mean, it's my dad used to say, one of his old favorite saying is that, son, there's something wrong with your head. you know, and my dad was a country boy. And when he said something, you didn't have to scratch your head or walk away and ponder about what he meant, but that's so true, because I've known men in my life who have that attitude, and that enslaves you. That just, it just, something about the energy of the universe just says, hey, we can't use you. And I've seen it happen many, many times, and guys struggle, and they're not happy. They're out of balance, because if you're out of balance with your life and the way you look at others, you're out of balance with the entire universe. Mm-hmm. That's just the way the world turns. And whether you like it or not, I mean, I can't help it, but I mean, you got to be open with yourself, open-minded. And most importantly, admit your shortcomings and your faults if you're thinking like it. And you need to change your ways, because otherwise you're headed down a dead end street, with a brick wall at the end, and that's not fun. Smash into that with your nose.
You're missing out on a lot of fun, right? And you're missing out on levity.
Oh,
you take it on and have the whole world upon your shoulders. You could, and you can go and do that and have your ego running the show and your masculinity, your bravado. You could, or you could, share that and have some fun with it, and have that levity and have that breath of fresh air walk in and help you out.
Yeah. Ego is the abbreviation of ignorance. It really is. That's for you guys that can't spell ignorance. You put down ego and you got it.
That's great.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about why you're such an advocate for women entering into technology.
Oh, yeah. So this is so great. So for me, for sure this, because it is, so blockchain, let's talk about blockchain. It is the equal level playing field for women. So there is no gender bias, because in crypto, in NFTs, metaverse, like they don't know if you're what your gender is unless you announce it, right?
Right.
So that excuse is out there. There's no glass ceiling because of that, and there's no excuses. There's no credit score. There's no bankability. All of those things that limit the options for women right now, none of that exists in blockchain. So there's tremendous power there, but there's also what you have to then be responsible for is there are no excuses. Women can go, and if you can't go to a bank and get a loan to start your company, well, you can go and raise money in the blockchain, right? Whether through a tokenization, an NFT project. I mean, I could go on and on and on, and do it yourself. You don't need to have a bank. You don't need to be in compete with the man's world and what's going on with the good old boys club. You bypass it. And that's the power that blockchain technology has given, is to put the power back into humanity. And that's why you hear so much against blockchain technology, because it circumvents all of that. Of course, you're going to hear banks and all kinds of financial institutions put down crypto. It would be asinine to not do that, because they're going to lose everything. They lose all the control, all the power. And once humans start waking up to that and seeing the gift that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is, it's second only to the internet. And that's what I go and I teach women. I go and teach women that, you can take your business and make it global instantly and have integrity with it, because it's a trustless system, because blockchain, it's public, so everybody can see what everybody's doing. So that's phenomenal, which is also why we probably know that the government's going to be the last to be on the blockchain, because they don't really want you knowing everything that they're doing and spending on and all that. And in addition to that, it is unalterable. So you cannot change it. Like once it's there and done, so you can trust it. If something can't be changed and you say something, that's what integrity is, right? You say you're going to do, you say you're going to do it. And it has integrity, and it's a beautiful system, and it allows women with the power of the phone. You may not have a computer, but most people, even in the poorest of nations, most people have a smartphone. and they are able to then make a global business instantaneously and also get global funding, and like all those things open up. So yeah, I'm a and that's where the future is going. So all of these, what we would consider entry jobs, jobs that really don't require any brain power. And there's I've yet to find, somebody that from birth till they get into their job say, I want to work fast food, or I want to, like, that's all I want to do. Like, that's what I aspire to do, or I aspire to, be an Uber Eats driver or an Uber, like, that's not what people, because it doesn't even take any brain power to do that. Or I want to work in a factory doing the same thing for 30 years. Like, nobody says that, because that's not our aspirations. That isn't. And those jobs are very, very quickly going to be replaced by robotics. So this is your opportunity, women, to get in there and to dive into technology and pull it towards you. You can't go to school for these things. Why? Because in 4 years, your information's out. I would never hire somebody that went through a 4-year program. It's obsolete in a few months. It's moving so fast. So you just need to get in there and start tinkering with it and start playing with it and putting the things that you love to do, that you're good at, on the sides. I mean, I can't tell me how many young multi-millionaires that I've met, teenagers, because they're just doing the things that they love, like girls that are like really into makeup and fashion, and then they give tips and then they blow up and they have millions of viewers and now they're monetizing. I mean, so it's such a wild west of opportunities out there. It's in its infancy, and there's just, so yeah, I could talk on and on and on. I'm an advocate for women entering technology, but it's where the future is going. It's the most in demand. Is anything that's in blockchain is so in demand. You can name your price. They don't care if you're man or woman, and you can work remotely. Like, come on, you know how much extra money you make just by working remotely? Same person gets paid, $100,000. 2 people get paid. One has to go into an office and one works remote. The one that works remote is the winner, right? There's so much more money that they make by working remotely. And, for me, companies out there, I've been advocating Elon Musk. I'm against this one thing on him, is you get a better worker. You get much more production out of people when they work at home and they don't have to call in if their child's sick. They just have to tune in every now and then, or spouse or part, like none of that. Like, it all gets handled, and they don't worry about working late because they're right there where they need to be, which is at home. There's all kinds of
less stress and pressure by working at home, especially for women, because obviously, I remember back in the day when my children were little and one of my kids was sick, and it was like, really? It's like, yeah, it's life, and back then they made you feel like crap.
Oh, yeah.
If you had to call off because your child is running 103 fever, obviously
and they ask you, right? And you're even hired based on, and that's why women in the beginning, like, that's a whole source of all kinds of things, right? Like, why women don't get all the positions, because if there's one that's very demanding and they know you have kids, you're not going to be looked at for that one.
Nope.
Yeah, you're going to be passed over for that, because they're like, well, she's going to have to do all kinds of things for school and sickness and blah, 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 child things, right?
Right.
So yeah, I've noticed that, like, when like it's just, I noticed that in all kinds of industries, like when, like, they always ask the women about how do you, I yet to hear a man, like, when they ask, ask a man, how do you balance your home and your work?
Oh, right.
You never hear them ask a man that, but they're always, when a woman's a CEO, can't tell you how many times I've been asked on interviews, how many kids do you have? Are you married? How do you balance your home life? I'm like, did you ask that CEO that? Like, what?
Right.
That is the weirdest question.
Right. And, honestly, the best way to answer it is I handle it extremely well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Better than you, probably.
Yeah. You notice I'm being quiet because, I tell you, it really blows my mind, though, some of the things that especially us men think about and put women into a box. And it's not fair because, my goodness gracious, the military, the Army I served in, the United States Army, it did a wonderful job of bridging that gap. Because if someone told me to go see Sergeant Rogers, I did not know if Sergeant Rogers, male or female, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Sergeant Rogers is the go-to person. That's my point of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if Sergeant Rogers is black or white. It doesn't matter. Sergeant Rogers is a person that can help me with the mission that I'm on. And that's the attitude we should have throughout life. We're all brothers and sisters, and we're family. We really are. I mean, scientists have traced all of our DNA back to one mom and one dad, so we're all related. And, we should look at one another like that and respect each other like that and appreciate each other, because the differences is what gives us the perfect balance. If we're open-minded and we're receptive and we're respectful of each other. Mm-hmm. And I admire that. I really do. And I admire the fact that Donna, bless her heart, she puts up with me all the time.
Oh, you know what? We tease about that, but I got to tell you folks, honestly, it has been such an incredible journey to be able to partner with Jim Grant, because he has such an ease about him, and he's smarter than a whip. And he'll sit there and see, that's what he does. But this man is so smart and so loving and so generous and so protective, and it was like peas and carrots for us, right? Just peas and carrots. But, it has been a blessing and an honor, and our journey has just begun.
Oh, yeah. And we got thrown together, and it's all Marty Haggard's fault.
It is. Dadgum him.
It's just amazing how when you're going down the pathway of life and your focus is on how can I be a blessing to others, doors will open for you.
Yep.
And you will be attracted into the areas of where you are destined to be. And I'm glad of that, because I got to be honest with you, folks, I'm not smart enough to figure that out myself. My dad I saw my dad one time on his knees praying when I graduated from high school. He didn't think I'd ever get out of there in one piece. And you got to have a sense of humor in this world. Otherwise, if you don't, it's going to drive you crazy. And laugh at yourself. It's very, very important in life. It really is. It's healthy for you.
That is, Jim, and you're always really great at that. So you're a master at teaching that. So you're absolutely right.
Thank you. I tell you, it's just been a wonderful, because we've known each other for a few years, Sophia, and I'm sat back and I've watched you, and we've kept in touch with each other. And I think what it really impresses about me, that what I see in you is your vision on how you can be a better contributor to life and to others,
to society and the world.
Oh yeah, folks, we can all take a lesson from this lady. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
Some of us, like me, need to probably burn the midnight oil to keep up with her. But really, I mean that sincerely, and I'm not just saying that to put you together with cheap glue or anything. I'm saying it from the bottom of my heart, because I've seen you, go and grow, and the compassion that you have, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing there. And we need to put that back up again. Let's see, where's it at? The eversmart.city, that's it's just amazing what you've done there. And I heard about it early on, and I've seen it, kind of develop a little bit. I haven't been really that close to it, but the more that I hear, and it's just constantly going and going and going. When you're doing something good for humanity and you're doing it for the right reason of giving it from the heart, guess what? You don't have to worry about putting fuel in a tank.
Nope.
That thing would gas itself.
It does. And there are moments, so back to the Instagram ready, CEO, there are so many moments when I doubt myself, when I'm like, it's just as important to be able to push through as it is to know when to fold, right? And that constant battle of, well, am I forcing this? Am I trying to force this? And it grows. This project grows with every collaboration that we do, with every joint venture that we get under a belt. It just grows. And there's fortunately for me, I can't even imagine it when people are trying to go on it alone. You know, like the different companies that started and they developed on their own. Like, you know, I have so many collaborations that are going on behind this. So I can turn to a lot of my other collaborators and be like, all right, I am having that moment where, and it's only when, and this is for everyone to hear, consider the challenges only arise when you are off purpose. Because when you are on purpose, those challenges don't even exist, right? Like they still show up, but they're not even there. Like they just kind of, you know, you can't even see them or feel them. You just kind of you walk right through them. So there are moments when I, you know, I'm off purpose and I spin, you know, just like any other. I mean, the life of an entrepreneur, somebody just told me, the life of an entrepreneur, I mean, being an entrepreneur, it's super easy, right? It's like riding a bike, you know, except for the bike's on fire and you're pedaling as fast as you can through hell, right? Like, sure, it's easy. You know, but I really want to make sure that people, like, they see, I know that people can, you know, we talk about my accomplishments, and thank you so much for highlighting a lot of them. You know, there's accomplishments, but what you're not seeing is every other moment where I'm on my knees crying, like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this.
We're going to have to bring you back for another show because we're out of time. But I tell you right now, because there's a lot of history between us. Even though we've just known each other for a few years, we're going to got to bring you back for a future show because she's got a lot of information. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and share the show with others, and be sure and love yourself first, because if you don't love yourself first, you have no love to give anyone else. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.